You're all set?
Okay, at 6 o'clock, we'll get started with the meeting. Thank you everyone for coming. First item on the agenda is to consider approving the minutes from September 22nd and sign the disbursement warrant. You have a motion? Second? All those in favor? Item 2, to sign the municipal election warrant. We'll wait on that one for a few minutes, Jen.
Yes, please.
Okay. To sign municipal resolution for ARPA funding.
Okay, this is part of the process. I think I've sent you all a copy of this, the draft. And if so, I'd like to just have you sign this copy here. There's no questions on it.
Would you run over what we're signing here just a little?
You didn't get a copy of that, Dana? I thought I sent that out.
I don't think you sent the agenda out.
All that is that's just a briefing or a summary of how we went through the process on the 2 dates, the amount of money that ARPA had awarded us, and where we're going to spend that money. And it's a resolution committing to use that money for those projects unless something else comes up due to COVID or what other reasons. And I also sent I'm going to send this around too. This is Appendix A. And then, oh, there you go. Keep that right there.
Well, Jan brought it in tonight.
Okay. All right.
Anybody have any question on that? Number 4 is Ed Roderick, and I don't see Ed here.
I guess we can scratch that.
We're going to scratch that one. Item 5, to review and consider a universal meeting room use policy.
Okay, so we're at the time of year, COVID's kind of waning down a little bit, and the usage on these 2 rooms is starting to really pick up. So we thought it would be a good idea to put together a policy on it. Basically, all this does is it kind of establishes rules to leave the room in the same condition that you found it as far as cleanliness goes, and it shows the priorities in the room. So council meeting would have priority over anybody, and then it would go down from there. Non-profits, everybody's entitled to use them. There's been no problems that's generated this. This came from outreach to other towns to find how they're handling it, and this was a basic policy that just kind of keeps things in order. If we do have somebody coming in that causes a problem for us, then at least, okay, we got something to fall back.
The contact information is here for both rooms.
Yeah.
So.
It's both for the Cascade and the Atlantic room. I mean, the calendar is pretty much filled in this room most of the time.
Right.
Over there, there's a lot going on over there. And if there's no discussion, I'll send around a signature
Well,
sheet.
Dawn's got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there a coordinated oversight of the 2 rooms?
Well, most of the time, the inquiries come through me. And what I'll do is I'll just send it in a direction to either the chief, one of the 2 chiefs, to go and find out if the room's available. Some people are going directly to the fire chief, and some people are going directly to Deputy Chief Stubbard over there. All of that works. I mean, if they're looking for a room, most of the time they call in the town office and I'll take care of it. But if they know where they want to go, then they can contact them.
Is there more of a request for one over the other?
This room here is hot. People like this room. And I think the reason is because one, it's got a kitchen. And, and food's allowed in this room. Over there, it's not allowed because we have a carpeted floor. But that room's being used as well, so.
Are they allowed to use the kitchen?
Some groups are allowed to use it. I mean, we haven't turned anybody down who's asked to use it. The Lions Club has used it. I think Kelly had an organization in here possibly for pies or something like that. Was that your?
Girl Scouts, yeah.
Girl Scouts, yeah. I mean, so we don't say no. I mean, we haven't had anybody come in and ask and we've said no. It goes with the room. And it's, and the thing is, these are Oakland residents, non-profit organizations, or whatever, and it's good for everybody. We've never had this option before. I mean, this is a huge plus for our taxpayers.
Is there a computer program or something you go to see that it's booked? So if I
No.
called in and wanted to book it, you could check to see if it was already booked?
No, we aren't that fancy. We've got calendars hanging on the offices of chief's offices.
Okay, so-
And we just
You can't
have
add-
markboard.
Sorry. You can't add a calendar to our website?
We probably could. I mean, I'm not saying that, we just don't have that, Dave.
I'm just thinking it'd be easier for, if somebody called you, you got to check with somebody to see if the room is booked.
Right.
Where if it was on a screen, you could look, and if it wasn't booked, you could fill in the box.
Yep,
It would be yours.
it's all a good idea. Any questions on this policy?
Do we have a motion? Do you want to look at it and sign it tonight, or study it a while?
I'd like to study a little.
Want to table it until next meeting?
We're in no rush. I mean, this is something that's, it's not rushed.
Table till the next meeting.
Second. I agree.
All in favor? Yep. Give us a little time to study it over some. To accept an MMA grant for the fire department fallout gear.
$1,430.72. They received on that.
Do we have a motion on this?
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor?
The other thing I just wanted to mention while we're on that subject, the fire department was approved for another $6,300 in COVID reimbursement. They had to put a little extra work in it, but it's nice to get some of that money back. And that covers some of the money that we've spent that haven't been reimbursed on it. So you don't have to approve that. I just wanted to make you aware of what it was.
Some of the records they kept back during COVID. I know at the time you talked about keeping good records in case somebody wanted to pay us for some of that time. That's good. Did you have anything on the manager's report?
I don't have anything. It's been very busy. I mean, I will share with you today, we had our second meeting for a downtown development plan. Garvin from Central Maine Growth Council has been facilitating that. Bob was actually in attendance today. We're assembling a committee to analyze and study whether or not we need to have a full-time fire state department. And that committee is being assembled right now. We're interviewing 2 people tomorrow. And it's going to be a 2-month process, maybe 4 committee meetings. And then they're going to absorb the information that's being passed to them, and they're going to make a recommendation one way or the other to the council. Working on putting together a committee for Memorial Hall. You probably have heard or seen something about that. I'm not having a lot of luck getting committee members. I've got maybe 4 or 5. I need to get some people that are good at grant writing and maybe some engineering type people in there, but I'm struggling with that part of it. We're still pushing forward on it. Oak Fest Committee, we're getting that ramped back up. I've got a couple of new members for that. I don't know how many of the old members are coming back. So that's starting in January. And there was another committee that we're putting together too. Maybe that was all of them. But it's been busy. We've had the Jeff Hall's new people down at the Public Works Department doing an outstanding job. He's got some youth down there right now, and he's going great guns.
Yeah, I saw Jeff. He's pretty pleased with his crew right now.
CMP has been up on the new park, and we're looking at getting estimates to get electricity up in there because that's kind of a target place for Oak Fest for this upcoming season. We've met with Jeff about starting to get some drainage put in and get that roughed out. The Overlook Park, I mean, that's kind of stalled again because grass won't stop growing. And I mean, this is October and they're mowing grass right now in the cemetery just like it was in July. And that being short-handed, they've gotten so far behind on their projects. His new man has started this week, so that's hopefully going to give them a little bit of break. But on the same token, one of his other full-timers has got injured and is going to be out of the picture, so he can't get a break on this.
Injured at work?
It was a work-related injury, and it was a lifting injury. So we're dealing with that. So it's been quite a couple of years. I mean, it doesn't seem to be lighting up at all. Our new staff in the town office is doing splendid. We've had 2 new hires there with Sheila and Abigail, and they're fitting in, and they're on top of things. And we're very lucky to have hired those 2.
And I see you got an email from a citizen thanking you for the Overlook Park, that it was very nice and pleasant up there.
A lot of positive feedback on that.
Yeah,
And,
that's great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we get people out there once in a while that thinks it's a waste of money. Obviously, you're gonna get that in the community or municipality, but boy, I'll tell you right now, it really brings kind of a nice little, it's a different kind of environment up there. And I think once we get those 2 buildings completed and the picnic tables out there and we get things going in the direction it's supposed to be organized or designed for, then it's gonna, next year it'll be even better than what it is this year.
Great place to go and look at the colored leaves, if you like colored leaves.
Yeah.
No?
What's the status of the raised garden lots?
Yep, that was part of the plan. And, but because of shortage of help, we weren't able to complete that. And they got some of the beds, which I think are too small. They should be bigger than that. I just think that that's, really kind of ridiculously small, to be honest with you. But that's going to be redesigned next spring. And,
So are we doing all of that work, or is the grant paying for it?
I don't know what the status is on the grant on that. I mean, we've gone by a lot of time, and that could have been jeopardized.
I know our Rotary group gave money for that, and we're waiting to finish completing it next spring.
Say that again, Kelly.
Our Rotary group that meets here
Okay,
gave money, we did a grant for that,
okay,
and we're waiting to finish that in the spring according to AJ.
perfect. I appreciate that. So that answers that question. Yes, the grant is still in effect. We've got a generous donation also for the big sign that's going to go up there, that's going to identify the mountains, and so we're waiting on that because the sign maker's behind.
Who's doing that?
That's going to be Toby Layton. And I mean, it's just like the sign for the park down here. We've been waiting on that since midsummer. We've got the post in the ground, but he's so far behind that we can't get anything done in a timely fashion right now.
Can you refresh, if you know, who is eligible for those garden spots?
Anybody who's a town resident. The way the process was going to work was for $10, I think it was 10. They ended up renting a spot for the summer, and we provided seeds for them for the garden. And it was to promote, an alternative form of food for them. And there's been interest. I mean, we've got people who are interested in it, but just because of the timing and stuff, we haven't.
So basically, next spring, that will probably be finalized, and it's just a 1 year.
They gotta take out what they built for beds. That's not gonna work. I want to put something in there that's a little bit more substantial than that. I mean, they're tiny. You can't grow much of anything in those little things. But we'll get that all straightened around. All these things have taken a lot more time than what they probably would have taken. And but it's just been this epidemic that we're in labor and everything else.
But we had a lot of donations up there, the fill and all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
we
been a
got a
lot
lot.
of work done that didn't cost.
And we're going to put a plaque up there recognizing all these private citizens and organizations like Kelly's and stuff for all the donations, but we just, we're gonna have somebody able to put that together for us.
What's the overall plan? I see you've got 2 structures up there, I assume
Right.
those are just gonna get.
Basically, all it is, John, is the rest area. Now, that's the predominant part of what it is, because you've got the only view in town of Oakland, really looking over at the mountain range. And then the idea was to have quite a few beds up there, garden beds, so if you wanted to go garden.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out this year. That's where we're still planning on going with that.
You've got 2, looks like, structures to put picnic tables under.
Yeah, that's what that's gonna be.
Oh, is that what that is? Yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah,
So I
get
see
people
those-
out of the sun. There's a lot of use up there.
I see cars up there all the time.
I do too. Yeah, I go up here. I mean, we've got some of our help at the town office goes up and has lunch up there on nice days. And I think if we put the picnic tables under there and get the sun off from people, you're gonna find, I like to get those little briquette cookers, a couple of them up there, one of them or whatever, just so people can have a barbecue up there if they wanted to. We got Galant Services that uses it every week. They take their staff out there and they bring lunches up and get out there and eat. I mean, the Kingdom Life Church donated 6 of those, well, they actually donated 10 of those fiber Adirondack chairs that are around town, and those were fairly expensive chairs.
I expect to go up there someday and see somebody sitting there with their book in their lap, sound asleep, looking out over the valley there. Dave, do you have anything tonight?
I do not, I'm all set.
Bob?
I do not. Good.
I'm all set. Anybody, Kelly? Anybody in the audience have anything?
I do.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Robin Moore. I just started a bookkeeping business right at 11 Church Street, and I have a client who is interested in open medical marijuana closer to, oh gosh, where Vision's Flower is. There's a red building that's for lease. That's where they're looking. So that is the question.
Now, what was your question? Whether the-
About having a medical marijuana store up by Visions.
Okay. So we can't do much about medical marijuana, okay?
We actually have a prohibition ordinance in place, which you might be aware of. Are you aware of that? The Oakland has a prohibition ordinance for marijuana storefronts, including medical marijuana. So that at this point in time, it's not allowed in the town of Oakland. So they wouldn't be able to do that. I would suspect that as time marches on, like anything, you know, that may be relaxed at some point, but I don't see that in the near future.
No.
Because you can go to Waterville and get anything you want over there.
Oh, Waterville is plastered.
Right. And we've had a lot of people asking about starting storefronts in Oakland. And,
Okay. They just asked me to come and I can do that.
I see. Now, I thought we couldn't medical marijuana, but isn't it the way we talked way back?
No,
or-
medical you can regulate, recreational is what you cannot.
no, it's just opposite.
Is it? Sorry.
And actually, our expert's sitting in the office. Dave, you want to educate us
I
on
was looking at Dave, because I know he's worked on this a lot.
I was just listening. Yes, the storefronts, we can regulate the medical portion of growing, we cannot. It falls under the medical, so if you want to actually grow medical marijuana, you can do that. But the towns can regulate storefronts in the processing
Oh, I see,
portion of it.
okay.
Yeah.
I knew there was some part of the medical thing that we weren't allowed to regulate, but,
Yep, the growing portion, there's nothing you can do. If someone decides to do that, they can do that.
okay.
Yeah.
And we've had many people.
Every week.
Somebody wanting to start a store in the town of Oakland, so it's Main Street, I mean, those storefronts down there, they look to occupy everything. And I'm still on the page that I think we ought to wait to see how things kind of roll out. And, you know, in our downtown development plan, that's really not the vision that I can see happening for downtown Oakland.
Yeah. And I can't imagine all the stores that they've opened will stay in business a long time. There's just too many of them, seems so. I mean, you go to Waterville, College Avenue, or Fairfield Center, and anywhere, they're loaded with them. Seems like there's gonna be too much competition, I would think, especially when people can grow their own. Nothing amongst the council?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second is all.
All those in favor? Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Norm.
I thought you had
I've got cheap license.
That's mine.
the big grow.
That's money.
No, you can actually grow